if you have any comments, you know what? I should have said this in the beginning. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut this part that I finish with here, and I'm going to plug it in the beginning because I should have said this in the beginning. If you have any comments or questions or anything like that, but if you want to chime in and air your grievances with EA, right? You just want to have it's kind of a cathartic experience. Feel free, right? Part of why I'm making this sort of video and part of why I'm making videos in general is to connect with people. And it gives you, just even if it's like a seemingly meaningless opportunity to share your thoughts, go ahead, share your thoughts, write a comment, right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Any other comments you want, anything you want me to make a separate video on? Obviously, it's good for me. I have plenty of ideas for things I want to talk about, but if I know that at least one person has an interest in it, then I'm more likely to make a video on it. So I would actually very much enjoy that. So with that being said, I'm going to try to wrap this up right now. Hope you're taking care of yourself, okay, in every way that you can. I'll talk to you in the next video, all right? Peace. Hey, everybody, how's it going? So here we are, video number 3. What I feel like talking about today is something to do with EAFC 25. We're going to break down a few examples of how EAFC, or the FIFA franchise, to its core is basically obviously rotten to its core as far as how the company sort of treats the player base and how they've sort of run the game. Now, there are many, many, many more examples of this than the few examples I have behind me. The 4 points I have behind me actually are videos I was originally planning on making to help people who play the game, because the videos I was making 10 months ago were to do with FC 24 at the time. And the reason for that is I found that it was easier for me to make videos on that topic rather than sort of the more important topics that I do want to end up discussing in future videos. So things regarding fitness and a wide spectrum of subtopics within that main topic of fitness, sort of lifestyle, etc., right? Taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, right? But for today, we're going to indulge a little bit, because one of my favorite pastimes in my, I guess, privately, I enjoy sort of acknowledging and breaking down the huge flaws that come with this game. And why does that matter to anyone? Well, it doesn't matter to everyone, that's for damn sure. But a lot of people like football or soccer, and a lot of people like video games, and especially a lot of males like both of those things. And so the intersection of those two topics, or those two hobbies, is EAFC now, because there really isn't a strong competitor, at least yet. And with all that being said, let's just dive in, okay? If you like hearing someone talk shit about EA, right, Electronic Arts in Vancouver, Canada, then maybe this video is for you. Hope you enjoy what we're about to go through. So without further ado, let's just get into it, okay? The game cycle restarted a few weeks ago, right? And what a lot of content creators do, and I was going to do something, my own, I think, very creative spin on this, was going to be outlining 4 types of genuine starter squads that start from, 10K coins budget, which is basically nothing per card, up to maybe, I don't know, 100,000 coins budget that you could work towards in the first few days or week of the game or whatever, just like a lot of content creators do. Now, what's the problem with this in general? Well, the way the game is these days, man, is, and the reason why these creators are smart, right? And I respect them for it. It's a very smart thing to do. Make this type of content before the game even comes out, because everyone knows that no one these days sticks with their starter squads. It can give you a bit of guidance. It can give you some insights. It can showcase or highlight certain players or certain gems. Great. Very good. It's in the interest of the player base. I'm all for it. That's what we're here for, right? But the problem is there's so many initial packs these days that you end up getting, one player that is somewhat usable and differs from your starter squad, that it basically throws this out of the window. On top of that, the bigger issue is that the power curve and the need to change your team is so rapid that having like a starter squad or a plan for a squad, like, it doesn't last more than 1 to 3 days. Most people, like, seriously, most people who play the game don't stick with the squad for more than a few days at a time. And probably, I can't even imagine someone sticking with the same starting 11 for more than like 1 to 2 weeks. And even though I've only been playing the game for 2 years and I'm considering just sort of putting my hands up and stepping away from it, for even though I'm an elite player, I'm within the top 1% of the player base, that shit doesn't really matter. But I feel it's important to mention, because people, when someone might call out EA's bullshit, they will, because some of them are children, they'll say something like skill issue. And the reality is, I'm a better player than 99 out of 100 people who are going to say the term skill issue. So I feel like it's important to mention. But this hamster wheel that EA puts everyone on, with how fast you feel like you have to improve your team and keep up with the power curve, is just at an all-time high. It's absolutely absurd. On the one hand, it's nice that there's a variety of players for people who want to use niche teams, like they want to use like a club and do like a past and present. Okay, cool. For those people, it's good. Most people don't even do that, to be honest. I've almost never seen 1 out of 100 or less opponents I play actually play with a true 100% past and present team, especially in the beginning. It's not even practical. You'll just get destroyed for the most part. But anyways, I digress. That's a big issue. So I was going to make a very insightful video on that. I was going to focus on some really some gem players that have 5-star skill moves incorporated in those starter squads, because that's quite useful in this game if you know how to use them. But today, instead, we're highlighting the flaws that come with each of these topics. So I'm also going to gloss over some initial investments. Now, it's too late to do this. I didn't even bother recording this at the time when it would have been more meaningful. But initial investments versus bad investments. Let's first just cover again right away what the issue is with the topic in general. Now, I can sit here and give you good market advice, just like other people can do. But I think what's more important is to highlight the sort of market manipulation that takes place from not just traders, but like trading discords, people with insider information, things like this. And even EA deciding to randomly put tradable, tradable store packs out of nowhere in the store that crash the market on a whim on like a random day of the week. There's countless examples of that. And it's a core issue because people feel like they have to manage the market really well. Thankfully, I'm pretty good at that. I'm better than the average player at that. And I feel like I need to, because I like having a good team, because your performance does improve when you have a better team. But the issue is that some people can take incredible advantage of the market at the expense of others, right? And there's these trading discords, and EA manipulates the market however they want. On PC, EA at any given time will flood the market with cards to increase their supply if they feel like it, and it'll just destroy their price. This happens during Team of the Season. I've noticed that. I have proof of that. I have 100% proof of that, screenshots, documentation, just for fun. When I noticed it, I thought it was fascinating. Confirmed it online as well. Other people saw the same unusual trends at certain times of the year. But again, I digress. I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit hole with each of these things. The fact that there's a market that can be manipulated, I get that it's nice that you have flexibility. You can buy different players, and I'm someone who takes full advantage of that as a player who understands that, in a sense, coins are king in this game. So there's for sure a positive element to it, but there's also a huge flaw with it. And EA has never addressed, leakers or trading discords, and they don't care for themselves as far as how they profit from the store at the expense of the player base, right? They obviously don't care about the players, but we all know this. Okay, moving on. I was going to make a separate video again about sort of my specific coin focused strategy for the year, which hadn't really changed much from the previous year. I guess I won't extend this video any longer than it needs to be. So I'll try to just simply summarize by saying it's important first and foremost that you invest in players that are not just good investments, but are helpful for getting you, more wins if you care about that sort of thing, or if you care about getting better rewards. If you don't, then okay, no worries. But most people who play this game want to win more. I think that's a very fair statement. And that there are microcycles that happen throughout each week. And then there are a few key macro cycles that happen in the first half of the game cycle. Okay. Black Friday, winter wildcards, or whatever theme, whatever promo is like winter wildcards, even though it's a relatively dead promo lately, the hype around it is still as strong as it has been in previous years. So there's a market crash that sort of precedes that. And then team of the year. Obviously, there's a big market correction and a big market crash that precedes that as well. And then the ones that happen after that don't really matter as much. Once you're hitting team of the year, things become a little less meaningful in the game as far as the market, although it still matters to some degree. But anyways, again, I digress. I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit hole here. I could elaborate a lot more on these, but I'm not going to because I already ramble. The fourth point was actually going to be some advice as far as, incorporating some delayed gratification, which I know most people these days, if you're listening to me right now in this video, you're an exception to what I'm about to say. Okay. But most people, just in general, and especially most people who play this sort of game, do not have a sense of delayed gratification. They're just not good at that. They need instant gratification. They need to utilize their 4,600 FIFA points that they got with the Ultimate Edition as soon as humanly possible. Usually by opening the 150 point packs that are garbage packs in the beginning, just to get off to the races, even though it's kind of garbage. But I was going to give some other sort of advice, which is not completely novel. But one of the points I'll just throw out there is that this year, I think what's going to be underrated is that because EA will continue to release more evolutions, there's going to be more opportunities to upgrade players that are of particular interest to you. And a lot of those EVOs are going to be paid. There's going to be way more paid evolutions. But if you have FIFA points laying around, especially because you shouldn't be paying for any microtransactions, the most you should ever have is the points that you get originally with Ultimate Edition. It's reasonable enough. Yes, does it cost more? Yes, but you get early access, you get a couple extra perks, and most people are going to do that. But where I draw the line, where everyone should draw the line, to be honest, is spending even a dime on more FIFA points. There should be no microtransactions. You can hardly even call them microtransactions. When transactions are commonly going above, say, $10 in a North American currency, like, USD or European, right, euros, or whatever, Canadian dollars or whatever, when the transactions are sometimes over 50% of the price of the game at retail value, like $40, $30-$40 in those expensive currencies, why are we still calling them microtransactions? Right? Like at worst, at best, they're macro transactions, and more truthfully, they're complete scams. Right? But a lot of people still pay for them, which is really crazy, but a topic for another day. So I guess I was going to elaborate a bit more on what are the ways you could more wisely spend those points. Okay. And yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try to keep it there. If you tune in and you're listening to me, I do appreciate it. If you have any comments, you know what? I should have said this in the beginning. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut this part that I finish with here, and I'm going to plug it in the beginning because I should have said this in the beginning. If you have any comments or questions or anything like that, but if you want to chime in and air your grievances with EA, right? You just want to have, it's kind of a cathartic experience. Feel free, right? Part of why I'm making this sort of video and part of why I'm making videos in general is to connect with people. And it gives you, just even if it's like a seemingly meaningless opportunity to share your thoughts, go ahead, share your thoughts, write a comment, right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Any other comments you want, anything you want me to make a separate video on? Obviously, it's good for me. I have plenty of ideas for things I want to talk about, but if I know that at least one person has an interest in it, then I'm more likely to make a video on it. So I would actually very much enjoy that. So with that being said, I'm going to try to wrap this up right now. Hope you're taking care of yourself, okay, in every way that you can. I'll talk to you in the next video, all right? Peace.